Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Ger Sweeney presents Live on Eire in association with EmeraldConnection.net.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Good evening and welcome. Nice to have your company for another Wednesday, for another week, another edition of Live on Eire, the Irish programme, and I'm with you through until 9. I hope you can stay with me. What have we got for you this evening? But before we do that, can I say thank you? Because I have to have my manners and say thank you very much to Howard Burton for Spain today from Nerja. And many thanks, Howard. Have yourself a very pleasant evening. I know it's extremely warm in Nerja at the minute. I heard you make reference to it, but sure, I know from just knowing the weather forecast and things. But we're going to feature Nerja again in the second hour of the programme because I'm going to be talking to George Lee. Yes, indeed. In the first hour, I'm going to have plenty of news for you, and we have some good Irish music in there as well. If you'd like to get involved, you're more than welcome to do so. Because I'm broadcasting from the west coast of Ireland this week again, you have two ways of communicating, well, three ways really. You have the WhatsApp machine, and the number for that is +34 645 99 67 95. If you are communicating in that way, send a text, please. Don't send voice notes because I can't listen to them because I'm working remotely. If I listen to them, then everybody else hears them, and we're not having that, all right? So that's that. And if you want to send an email, you're more than welcome to do so. Two options for you there. You can use the studio one, which is studio@tre.radio, or you can use my own personal one, which is ger@tre.radio. Ger is spelled G-E-R. So entirely up to yourself on that one. All right, as I said, plenty of news and some music for you in the first hour, and I'll be chatting with George, who is in Nerja this week, as you will know if you were listening last week on the programme. It's the first time that we've done a swap around with him being in Spain, me being in Ireland. And I can promise you an interesting conversation because we've had it already because he's on his holidays. And I didn't want to interrupt the evening's entertainment or the evening's outings with George and his family. So we had a little chat around lunchtime today, and you will hear that in the second hour of the programme. Now, we featured County Donegal on the programme over the past few weeks. And about an hour ago, RTE was reporting... I have a sneeze coming on, excuse me. Yeah, it is nearly ready. You know one of those sneezes when you know it's coming, but you just don't know when? Oh no, it's gone away again. All right. RTE was reporting about an hour ago that a number of packages believed to contain drugs have been washed up on the coast of County Donegal. Gardaí have confirmed. Now, they say that they are currently investigating the circumstances of the discovery of the packages along the county's north coastline. Gardaí say the packages contain a substance which is believed to be a controlled drug, but this is subject to analysis and confirmation by Forensic Science Ireland, FSI. Gardaí have not commented on the significance of the discovery and say that no further comment will be made at this time. So there we go. I mentioned the weather forecast, and being Irish, we love chatting about the weather. There's a man doing some work on the house today, and I was outside in the back garden a little earlier on. And the first thing I said to him was, isn't it a great day for it? Because the sun is shining and it's nice and warm. I'm looking at 17 degrees at the moment and a nice gentle breeze blowing in the back garden. See the washing just moving to and fro, and I can see the leaves on the trees and so on and so forth. So 17. Anyway, Ireland has become warmer, wetter and sunnier over the last 30 years. That's according to a new survey by Met Éireann of the changes of the country's climate from 1991 to 2020. The average air temperature in Ireland over the 30 years up to 2020 was 9.8 Celsius, which is 0.7 Celsius higher than the previous 30-year period up to 1990. And the rise in temperature was observed across all four seasons. Rainfall also increased by 7% in those years, with the north and west seeing the biggest rise, while the east of the country was wetter. It was not the same, or to the same extent. Now, when they say east of the country was wetter, I think they mean in terms of the 30 years. That's what I think they mean. There was also more sunshine, with an average of 63 more hours of sunshine per year. That's a 5% increase. Now, the month of May was the sunniest one and the month which saw the greatest temperature increase, an average of 1 degree. December was the dullest month, it usually is, while October saw the lowest mean temperature rise, just 0.2 Celsius. Winter and autumn were the wettest seasons, with spring the driest. Met Éireann said that these changes are consistent with previously published projections for how climate change will impact Ireland. If they've got that right, chances are they're going to get right what's going to happen in the next 30 years, and that doesn't look very promising at all. Anyway, Met Éireann climatologist and project lead Mary Curley said that what is being seen at a local and national scale fits the international picture that the atmosphere is getting warmer. In a statement, she added that it is also important to remember that while these averages give us an up-to-date baseline to compare our current and future weather to, it's important to remember that weather patterns can vary significantly from year to year. I suppose the key to all of that is looking at the averages, the means and the averages and things like that, and it's all on the rise. Now, there's good news and there's bad news. But I'm sorry, no, but I'm afraid I have some bad news, particularly if you happen to be listening to me in Ireland and if you like an old drop of the black stuff, right? Guinness owner Diageo is to increase the price it charges for draft beer for the second time this year. The cost of a pint is to rise by 4 cents from August the 14th. The move will apply across the company's portfolio of draft brands, including Guinness, Carlsberg, Smithwick's, Harp, Rockshore and Hop House 13. Diageo blamed the decision on rising costs. The last time it increased prices was February of this year, when it added 12 cents to the cost of a pint. The cumulative total of 16 cents a pint increase by Diageo compares to a 17 cent hike in prices over the past year by the rival Heineken. Of course, those are the prices that they're going to be increasing to the publican. And I was listening to a publican up close to the border today talking on the RTE News, and he was talking about, you know, in terms of VAT, that 4 cent that Diageo will be charging them, you've got VAT to go on top of that. And he said that really is going to mean that we're going to be looking somewhere in the region of 10 cent. And he was saying that he charges €5 for a pint at the minute. Now, I know that where I go for a pint regularly, my local, infrequently, I should say, I pay $4.50 for a pint. Now, you could go and pay $7.50 for it in Temple Bar in Dublin if you wanted to, or more in some places. But I was out with my brother last week, just a couple of drinks because it was his birthday. And we had a couple of pints, and we were in not too far away from where I am because it was convenient to both of us. And we were paying €5 there for a pint of Guinness. So that's going to go up a little bit. But I think where my local is, I think he's going to bring that price now to €5 because he did say at the time that he didn't increase it back in February when the 12 cent plus the VAT and all that was added. He said, I'll wait. I'll hold on to it. I'll hold on to that, and I'll take the hit for a while. But he said as soon as it goes up again, that's it. It'll be gone up to €5 a pint. €5 a pint. There was a time when you could go out in the early 1970s and you could have a great night out on a pound. A full pound you could have had a night out on. Oh, things change, don't they? Jealous for the Birds, the name of this band. Played it for you a couple of weeks back. It's called Beginner's Luck. I hope you enjoy it this evening.
In your linen shirt, come teach me how to see. Perfumed with fresh turpentine, imported oolong tea. Swirl me up in yellow ochres, pigments ruddy rose. You see what you look for and you go where no one goes. Sailor in your schooner, come teach me how to sail. The sky is full of ribbons and the water's milky pale. I've never seen an albatross or felt the tempest tongue. Sail until the sailboat splinters, sail it while you're young. I'm never done. I'm never done. Gardener, come walk with me and teach me how to grow. Fragrant herbs, peonies, and poppies all aglow. honor, true persistence, the sheer will to survive. Every bud and blossom, seed and sapling demands life. I'll never die. I'll never die. Judge me be in the courtroom and teach me to decide the honest course of action with prejudice aside. Cloud and feather, salt and sugar, lion's tooth and nail, weigh heavy down on either side of your golden scales. I'll never die. I'll never die. I'll never die. I'll never die.
She's based in Belfast. Naomi Hamilton is her real name. Her stage name is Jealous of the Birds, and that's a song that's simply titled Beginner's Luck. Nice song, played it for you a couple of weeks ago. Hope you enjoy that, getting us underway on this Wednesday evening. In case I forget to remind you, or tell you, not remind you because you don't know yet, I'm going to be with you on Friday afternoon between 2 and 4. Alan is off this week, and Anna sat in for him last week, and I'll be sitting in for him this week between 2 and 4. All right, if you can join me, that would be lovely. Going to take a very quick break, come back to me just after that, and I have some more news for you.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
I've spent some time talking about Oireachtas committees over the last 3 weeks because of the scenario at RTE. Well, the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the CCPC, has opened an inquiry into the GAA Go platform to determine whether it complies with competition law. GAA Go is a commercial company jointly owned by RTE and the GAA. The online streaming service, which broadcasts hurling and football matches, attracted controversy earlier this year after several high-profile games were put behind a paywall on the platform and not made available on free-to-air television. The CCPC told RTE's This Week programme on Sunday that it opened an inquiry into GAA Go in May of this year. Now, the inquiry relates to an expansion of the service provided by GAA Go, which had previously only broadcast matches to people living overseas. This arrangement had been cleared by the CCPC. However, there were changes this year when GAA Go stepped in to take over the sports broadcasting rights previously held by Sky Sports. This led to matches being put to domestic audiences and not just to the diaspora. Now, on Wednesday of last week, RTE's head of sport, Declan McBennett, told an Oireachtas committee that the service was currently operating without clearance from the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. The CCPC said that it opened an inquiry in May when it became apparent that the activities of the joint venture may have been extended beyond those notified to and cleared by the CCPC in 2017. It said the CCPC proactively engaged with the GAA and RTE on this matter. It said mergers over a certain financial threshold must be notified to the Commission, whose role is to examine whether the proposed transaction could substantially lessen competition in any markets in the state. The GAA, on behalf of GAA Go, said that it had not been formally notified that the CCPC is conducting an inquiry into the operation of the service. A spokesperson said that the CCPC previously sought information from the GAA regarding GAA Go, a request that was duly obliged. We remain committed to engaging the CCPC as required. The spokesperson added that GAA Go is satisfied that it is currently operating in line with competition law by broadcasting matches to subscribers based in Ireland. He said, however, should anything contrary to that sentiment be brought to GAA Go's attention, it will give immediate, due consideration to the matter. He added that the CCPC has not made any request of GAA Go to make any changes to how it currently operates. A lot of GAA Go's and GAAs and CCPCs and that, wasn't there? There was. We've got to stay with sport. We're heading into a weekend of great hurling action as the Senior Hurling Championship decider between Limerick and Kilkenny takes place in Croke Park on Sunday. Last weekend, the senior football semi-finals were played in Croke Park, with Dublin coming out best against Monaghan on Saturday afternoon and Kerry narrowly overcoming Derry in the second game on Sunday. The All-Ireland Senior Football Final will be played in Croke Park on Sunday the 30th of July. Of course, there's plenty of Irish representation at the Open, which starts tomorrow at Royal Liverpool. There's been a lot of activity there already over the last number of days. The man who triumphed at the Renaissance Club in North Berwick in Scotland last weekend, Rory McIlroy, what a great finish that was the man who lifted the claret jug the last time that the Open was played at Royal Liverpool in Hoylake in 2014. Can he do it again, they're asking, in 2023? Well, he's certainly mentally ready for it, I would imagine, based on his second shot on the 18th last week. Was it 202 yards with a driving iron? Wow, absolutely. I was gutted, I must say. Lovely to see Rory winning it, and ordinarily I would be shouting for him, but gutted to see Bob McIntyre not winning the Scottish Open, because he looked so primed for it, didn't he? He did. Other contenders include in the Open, Pádraig Harrington, of course, Shane Lowry, Darren Clark, Seamus Power, and there's an amateur, Alex Maguire, is in there as well. I'm going to be glued to that for as much as I possibly can, although there's a lot happening over the next couple of days, but I'm hoping that I will be able to watch as much of it as possible. And of course, we can't talk about sport without talking about the Irish women in Australia for the Women's World Cup. The first game is tomorrow, and it's the first time that our girls have qualified, and there is quite a lot of interest in it in Ireland and quite a lot of media attention as well. The first game tomorrow against Australia, the Matildas as they're called. I think it's around 11 o'clock tomorrow morning or thereabouts. So we wish them well. I won't be watching it because I'll be watching the Open instead, but I'll keep an eye and keep an ear to it for sure and certain. But we wish the girls the very best of luck. Will we take another little bit of music? I think we should.
Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to be near them. Arrange your face, a face to greet them. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to be near them. When the ones you love are stretching on the rack. I'm on a spacewalk. I'm on a spacewalk. This isn't real life at all. Now we pretend that it's perfectly normal, but it's beyond strange to be making music. Yeah, we pretend that it's perfectly normal to be rocking away, wearing poison in a bag. I'm on a spacewalk. I'm on a spacewalk. This isn't real life at all. I'm on a spacewalk. I'm on a spacewalk. This isn't real life at all. Let there be no love lost. your world is caving in. Only you can bend the beast. Beast is yours to tame. But I will love you on a still day and in a hurricane. Yeah, I'm on a spacewalk. I'm on a spacewalk. I'm floating right above it all. I'm on a spacewalk. Yeah, I'm on a spacewalk. And this is real life after all. Yeah, this is real life after all. Yeah, this is real life after all. This is real life after all. This is real life after all.
Nice. You've heard that before on the programme. Bell X1. That's a song that's called Spaceman, isn't it? Aye, and nice one. Like it. Spacewalk, sorry, not Spaceman, Spacewalk. PJ Curtis is tuned in this evening, and he particularly enjoyed that particular track that we played a little earlier on, the first track that we played from Naomi. From Belfast, and yeah, nice track as well. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. We've loads more to come. It's kind of time of the year when, you know, there is lots of new music and stuff, but not as much as there would ordinarily be. And so I decided today that I'd take a look back and listen back to some of the stuff that we played over the last couple of weeks and months, and just re-listen to them and enjoy them once again. Going to take a very quick break. Come back to me just after that, and I'll tell you about the level of trust that we, the public, have in banks. And I promise you there'll be no bad language in it. Right, quick break, back in a moment.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
And you're welcome back to the programme. Thank you for tuning in this evening, and thank you for staying tuned. I hope you will stay with me until 9 o'clock this evening. The first part of this statement took me by surprise, but I was reassured when I read the second part. Public trust in banks has continued to improve, but attitudes towards the sector remain negative overall. That's according to the latest report from the Irish Banking Culture Board. The Eire 2023 report found that a slight majority of people saw banks as a positive force in their community and as supporters of good causes across society. Really, SMEs were also slightly more trusting of banks than consumers, though their attitude also remained in negative territory. When trust is broken, it takes a long time to restore it, and it requires a long time commitment and consistency, said Marion Kelly, who is the CEO of the Irish Banking Culture Board. The IBCB was established in 2019 to help bring about cultural change in the country's banks. It came in the wake of the tracker mortgage scandal, which built on a reputational damage from the issues that emerged around Irish banks during the financial crisis. It doesn't say that it was the banks that broke the country in that particular one, no more than in other countries. This is the board's third annual Eire report, with trust levels slowly improving in that time. However, banks are making inroads, particularly in their perceived positive impact on local communities. Banks' local operations were also far more trusted than the organisations themselves, with the public having a broadly positive view of their branch, despite still being negative on the wider sector. The survey also shows that people like digital engagement. A lot of people want to only get their services that way, but there are a lot of people that don't, and those people need to be looked after. This year's report was particularly influenced by the withdrawal of KBC Bank Ireland and Ulster Bank Ireland. Trust levels in those banks were particularly low, with trust levels in the sector improved by their exclusion. All right. Remaining banks may also have improved their image through the switching process, with only 16% of consumers saying the experience had undermined their trust in the bank that they joined. Almost half of respondents said that they were satisfied with the bank that they joined, while 39% said that they found the switching process easier than expected. There we have it. No need for commentary on that, I guess. All right. This is an interesting story that I came across. The Gardaí, on Garda Síochána, will spend €4 million on the services of recruitment specialists to assist with hiring staff across a range of different roles over the next 2 years. A series of new tenders issued by An Garda Síochána shows the force is separately planning to spend around €260,000 on hiring actors to engage in role play with officers engaged in specialist training. A similar amount is also being set aside for expenditure on up to 4,000 pairs of black Oxford dress shoes for recruits at the Garda College in Templemore in County Tipperary. They're setting aside that much for pairs of black Oxford dress shoes. We'll tell you why in a second. I suppose 260,000 isn't bad when you consider that RTE spent 5,000 on flip-flops for a summer party. Yeah, for clients and people. Yeah. Anyway, the largest tender sees Gardaí setting a budget of €4 million for an end-to-end recruitment service over the 1-year term of the contract, which can be extended for a further 12 months. Gardaí said that there would be an overall requirement for up to 2,364 additional staff across all services, grades and disciplines under its ambitious recruitment programme. The government has set a target of increasing the strength of the Garda workforce to 15,000 members, 4,000 civilian staff and 2,000 Garda reserves. Gardaí expect the winning bidder to assist with the recruitment of a minimum of 50 specialist roles within the first 12 months. Gardaí said that they expect the winning bidder to be known for their recruitment expertise and access to wide networks of candidates in the market, both nationally and internationally. Among the specialist categories where vacancies are expected to arise are human resources, occupational health, communications, legal, finance, information technology, and forensic cartographers and photographers. Meanwhile, Gardaí are also due to spend around 250,000 in hiring professional actors to engage in role play to assess officers engaged in investigative and special training to deal with complex murder, organised crime and sexual abuse cases. An Garda Síochána is seeking companies or agencies who will provide professional actors to assist with the assessment of participants in a specialist interview course that will be held at the Garda College in Templemore, as well as other possible locations. Gardaí said that the course is designed to train specifically selected members of An Garda Síochána and TUSLA social workers to interview children aged under 18 years, as well as people with intellectual disabilities who alleged that they have been victims of offences for the purposes of recording evidence admissible in a trial. Actors will be required to act out a scenario based on an allegation of a child claiming that they were physically or sexually abused as part of the final examination of the interviewers. Actors will be supplied with a script at least 2 weeks before the course commences so they can familiarise themselves with what they have to do. And finally, they have also fixed a budget of up to €265,000 to be spent over the next 4 years on up to a maximum of 4,000 pairs of black leather dress shoes. The footwear is needed for use by Garda recruits when they're required to wear a dress uniform for certain ceremonies and ceremonial drill training. There you go. Isn't it amazing the kind of things that the likes of the Gardaí would be looking to do? Yeah. Employing actors, you can kind of see the logic behind it, can't you? Yeah, absolutely. I've played this before, and I've played it not just on the Irish programme, but when I've been filling in for others, and it has always been very warmly welcomed. Here's Green Shine.
Go
trust no other, and nobody can trust me. And just before you ask, I'm equal to the task. 'Cause it's worth sorting through your stuff. The evidence in your green eye is proof enough. Pulling up a chair right next to me in the dim blue light of the new TV. See your eyes light up as I make you laugh, and I'm happy.
Oh, they're finished. All right. Nice, isn't it? That's from Greenshine. I did say some months ago or some weeks ago that we'd try and get them on the programme. I just haven't had a chance. You know, when just life is out of control and it's just, you just can't get things done that you want to get done. Yeah, that's kind of where we are at the minute. And of course, this time of the year as well, trying to get people, you know, organised to do things, it's impossible because every second or every third person that you go to is on holidays, and they're just gone. It's back in 2 weeks. And that might be crucial to another part of a puzzle. And so when they're back and they're all on board, then the other people that are also crucial to that same puzzle, they're gone away on their holidays and they're just gone. It'll be gone for 2 weeks. So it's kind of silly season, but that's the way it is. Now, will I take a break now and then we'll have a clear run to the news? No, I won't. I'll tell you what. Let's talk about Northern Ireland. Shall we? Because the absence of a functioning government in Northern Ireland means that it is lacking a proper policy response to the cost of living crisis, a think tank has said. The new report by the Centre for Progressive Policy has examined the impact of soaring costs across Northern Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales. It pointed out that Northern Ireland has faced deepening hardship, with record numbers receiving universal credit as well as housing support. The lack of political representation in the UK government has further contributed to this challenge, masking the potential severity of the crisis in Northern Ireland from dominant political and media narratives. Few in and around Westminster have been aware that the energy price cap has never applied to Northern Ireland, while the country's huge dependency on home heating oil has also gone largely unnoticed. The report says that Northern Ireland's principal winter crisis was arguably not over the winter of 2022 to 2023 like the UK, but the preceding year, 21 and 22, as oil prices began climbing significantly with zero financial support provided to households to absorb costs. The Stormont power sharing institutions have been dormant for more than 16 months due to a boycott by the DUP in protest at, they say, post-Brexit trading arrangements. The Centre for Progressive Policy report continued that evidence of deepening hardship taking place on a mass scale can be seen in the record levels of households now receiving universal credit, which has more than doubled since 2020 due to pressures from rising bills and prices. This hardship is also seen through the rapidly increasing number of households that receive support for housing costs, with the total number having tripled since the end of 2019, now encompassing roughly 1 in 6 households and notably 1 in 4 within the private rented sector. Now, meanwhile, it was announced this afternoon that talks between the Northern Ireland Secretary of State, the leaders of the 5 largest political parties, are to take place over the next 2 days. The meetings will happen in London and Belfast, and it's understood that the focus of Chris Heaton-Harris is to facilitate the return of the Northern Ireland Executive as soon as possible. Good luck with that, pal. A source at the Northern Ireland office said that parties will be pressed on their plans for a programme for government for an incoming executive, which would need to be fully costed and within budget. It's understood that though that tough spending decisions and revenue-raising measures will be required, and officials are currently studying revenue-raising measures put forward by departments in Northern Ireland. The Office of the Secretary of State is believed to be available to work with the parties through the summer on these issues. The Sinn Féin leader in Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill, has said that the current vacuum is unsustainable, adding that there is an onus on the British and Irish governments to do more. She said that she was determined to work with the two governments, the DUP and all other parties, to find a way forward. Speaking after a meeting in Westminster, DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson said that the ball is in the government's court and that unionists just want a fair deal. He told Mr. Heaton-Harris that there was no solid basis for an executive and assembly until there are arrangements to safeguard Northern Ireland's place in the UK internal market and our constitutional, he said, arrangements are respected. So there we go. That's the story about Northern Ireland for you. Let me just tell you very quickly that plans are underway for a new International Arts and Technology Festival in Ireland. BETA, B-E-T-A, will take place in Dublin across 4 days in November of this year. The festival is led by Aisling Murray, who is a curator and creative producer in partnership with Digital Hub and with the support of Science Foundation Ireland. It aims to engage with technology's impact on society through performances, discussions, workshops and a nighttime programme. BETA will focus on a number of key themes which are dominating the technology discussion at present, including artificial intelligence, quantum technologies, data rights and sustainability. The festival has identified a need to bring together Ireland's research and digital arts communities in order to foster a discussion about how the two disciplines can combine for the benefit of society. So that's BETA. I think we'll be bringing you more information about that between now and November.
Maybe I've been living in a dream. The past feels like a better place to be. The days we spent just sitting by the sea. Empyrean skies can't compete with those eyes. The colors of that dress you love to wear. The way the sun got tangled in your hair. I remember everything, so why do I get this feeling like I'm fading from your memory. So I wrote this song and called it Don't Forget Me. Every time you hear it, will you smile and tell the one you're with I was that guy? Ooh, even though you had to let me go, don't forget me. Just don't forget me. Every time I think about it now, I guess we never really figured out to hold each other through the ups and downs, the difficult nights, the times that we cried. I hope he knows it's special what he has. I hope he thinks it's magic when you laugh, 'cause I remember everything, so why do I get this feeling like I'm fading from your memory. So I wrote this song and called it Don't Forget Me. Every time you hear it, will you smile and tell the one you're with I was that guy? Ooh, even though you had to let me go, don't forget me. Just don't forget me. On that one night, it was so right. You were all mine. How could we let it go? That one night was my whole life, and we stopped time. How could we let it go? That one night, it was so right. You were all mine. How could we let it go? That one night was my whole life, and we stopped time. But I get this feeling like I'm fading from your memory. So I wrote this song and called it Don't Forget Me. Every time you hear it, will you smile and tell the one you're with I was that guy? Ooh, even though you had to let just don't forget me.
How could I possibly? Dermot Kennedy, and that's a song called Don't Forget Me. Let's take a very quick break, shall we? Back to you in just a moment with more news. We have more music as well. What have we got? We've about 12 and a half minutes now before we go to news. George Lee is going to join me in the second hour of the programme. He's in Spain and I'm in Ireland. A reversal of the roles. Looking forward to that.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Oh, welcome back. And the government... Oh, I've turned that up. Did I turn that up or is it just that it's too loud? I think we're here. Let me just double check on levels and see if we're... Yeah, we're grand. The government is investigating reports that a Russian drone was built using a part which was made in Ireland. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has said in Kyiv. Now, this story broke, I think, was it late last night. Mr. Varadkar was speaking after holding talks with President Vladimir Zelensky on a surprise visit to Kyiv. Asked by a Ukrainian journalist about a part from a destroyed Russian drone that was stamped with the text "Made in Ireland," Mr. Varadkar said, "We are aware of that. We are investigating at the moment." He said that the government did not believe any Irish companies had evaded sanctions, but noted that there were third parties who were finding their way around them. "We do take it very seriously," he said. Now, the Shahed drone in question, made in Iran, was shot down over southern Ukraine in recent days. A component from the drone, known as a carburetor, which supplies spark ignition engines with a mixture of fuel and air, was labelled as being made by Tillotson, an American company that operates a factory in Tralee in County Kerry. Now, the factory makes small engines for garden equipment, such as lawnmowers, leaf blowers and chainsaws, raising the prospect that the parts were repurposed by the manufacturers of the drone. Despite the Made in Ireland stamp, it has also not been determined whether the component was actually produced in Ireland. A picture of the recovered drone was shared on Twitter by the head of the office of the President of Ukraine yesterday. He noted that hundreds of other parts are made in Western and Asian countries. Former Minister of Foreign Affairs in Ireland, Charlie Flanagan, called it a matter of some concern. Under EU sanctions imposed on Russia, there is a ban on the sale, supply or export of drone engines and electronic components, also with other items that may contribute to Moscow's military or the development of its defence and security sector. The list of restricted items also includes toy drones and various technologies. Now, this is interesting. I'm trying to remember, and I know that we've done a lot over the years on artists, and I'm trying to think, did we do something on stained glass windows? I know Manus Walsh was talking to me about stained glass when I was chatting to him some time ago. But anyway, internationally renowned stained glass artist Harry Clarke will get his own museum if Dublin City Council has its way. A deal is being worked out with Bord Fáilte to locate the museum on Parnell Square. If all goes according to plan, the Harry Clarke Museum of Stained Glass could be open to the public in 2026. The council wants to use the former premises of the Dublin Writers' Museum, which is appropriate. Harry Clarke is also known for his stark black and white illustrations by the books by Goethe, Hans Christian Andersen and Edgar Allan Poe. But it is for his strikingly original stained glass designs that he remains best known. The 6 windows that he made for Bewley's Cafe on Grafton Street in Dublin have an estimated value of €1 million and were recently the subject of a legal dispute. But many regard his greatest achievement to be the Geneva window, commissioned by the Irish Free State, but decried for its alleged indecency. The masterwork ultimately found a home at the Wolfsonian Museum in Miami. Dublin-born Clarke, who died in 1931 only at the age of 41, is regarded as one of the 20th century's greatest stained glass artists, with examples of his work found in the UK, the United States, Australia, as well as many in Ireland, most of them in churches. Dublin City Council already owns a collection of Clarke's works, including one of his most famous pieces, Eve of St. Agnes. Private owners are willing to loan windows to the museum, while the artist's descendants are also supportive of the project, which is great news. The council's assistant arts officer, Margarita Kapok, said that Clark's pioneering techniques and brilliant execution of stained glass panels had earned him a global reputation. His skill and unique vision is unsurpassed, and his art is instantly recognizable because of its outstanding originality, she said. We all would agree with that one. That'll be nice. The museum will be open by 2026 and we'll all be able to go and have a look at a collection. That'll be absolutely brilliant. Right, I know with the temperatures as hot as they are in Spain and across Europe, you may not feel like dancing, but if you do, this will be one to go to. Well, if you did chance the old dance, I hope that you enjoyed it. That was Sharon Shannon and The Scratch helping her out there. The lads, they call themselves The Scratch. Song called The Diddly Doo. Nice one. Alrighty. We're heading towards news, about 45 seconds away from that. George Lee is going to be joining me in the second hour of the programme, so I hope that you will stay with me for that. I'll have other bits and pieces of news for you, and we'll play some more music as well. So looking forward to that. So as always, if you'd like to get in contact, you're more than welcome to do that. You can certainly send a text message to our WhatsApp machine at +34 645 99 67 95, or you can send an email to studio@TRE.radio. You can use my own email as well if you like, Ger, Ger @TRE.radio. I am monitoring both of those as I speak. As I said, we're heading towards news, and I'll be back to you in just 2 minutes after that. So please don't go anywhere. Hang in there, because I'm with you until 9 o'clock this evening.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Now you're welcome back. As I said, just 2 minutes away, and we're into the second and final hour of the programme. I did mention to you at the start of the previous hour that I'll be with you again on Friday of this week between 2 and 4. If you can join me for the Friday conversation, there's an Irish twist to it. It's not going to be an Irish programme, but there's an Irish twist to it. All right, and we'll tell you more about it on Friday if you care to join me between 2 and 4. Funding is to be given to nightclubs in Ireland to help soundproof their venues as Ireland plans to update its licensing laws. The government aims to renew antiquated licensing laws to allow pubs and clubs to open later. The current system is based on a patchwork of 100 laws, some of which are more than 200 years old and 2/3 of which predate the foundation of the state. Yesterday, it was announced that €2 million in capital funding has been made available to support nightclubs and late-night venues to become more soundproof. A maximum grant of €70,000 will be made available per application. The scheme will not be available for retrospective works. Separately, €800,000 in capital funding will be available to art centres and cultural spaces to open later and host events such as traditional music, DJ nights, theatre, comedy or dance. The pilots will also seek to identify and address any challenges which arts centres may associate with staying open late. In partnership with the Arts Council, the state agency in charge of promoting the arts, 12 pilot projects will be selected to support innovative approaches to nighttime cultural activities. A programme of cultural events will also be announced for summer nights at Moore Street. Wow! Which will see food stalls, street art and live music take place every Thursday night between now and the 6th of August. This is part of a wider strategic partnership with Dublin City Council to provide night markets in the capital, which will also be rolled out to towns around the country in future, providing events that do not centre around alcohol. Isn't that interesting? That's nice. I mentioned TUSLA a little earlier on, and there's an increase of almost 10,000 referrals to the Child and Family Agency between 2021 and 2022. That is according to TUSLA's latest annual report. There were 82,855 referrals to child protection and welfare services in the year 22, a 13% rise on the previous year. The report, the first to be published under its new CEO, Kate Duggan, comes days after the state agency acknowledged that it was in a crisis. Now, that acknowledgement followed the publication of a letter by a district court judge who expressed his concern to government ministers about children in care. Judge Dermot Sims of the Dublin Metropolitan District, who has since retired, wrote the letter in May, warning of the risk or indeed likelihood that the state would face future claims arising out of its failure to comply adequately with its duty of care and statutory duty to many of these children. His letter, which was published by the Child Law Project, highlighted the placement of children in unsuitable special emergency residential placements due to lack of care placements. In his letter, Judge Simmons expressed concern over a lack of properly regulated suitable placements for foster care, residential placements and special care, as well as a shortage of qualified staff at the agency. Last year, TUSLA's fostering recruitment campaign resulted in 182 new TUSLA foster carers being approved, with a further 29 going through the process of approval at year end. However, the annual report has noted that recruitment of sufficient numbers of foster carers remained a significant challenge, and when leavers were considered, there were 75 fewer foster carers than were approved. Key risks to foster care identified last year included a risk to the safety, welfare and well-being of children due to inadequate capacity, resources or systems to ensure compliance with national standards for safeguarding. Among the actions taken was finalising operational guidance for the management of child protection concerns for children in care. Now, back in May, the Ombudsman for Children's Office called for the placement of children in unregulated accommodation to be prohibited when they were before the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Children. TUSLA's 2022 annual report has acknowledged that a key risk to the agency last year was failing to meet several requirements, care standards, procurement, finance and so on, through the increased use of special emergency arrangements. The report has outlined the introduction of an oversight and quality improvement approach, which has included local arrangements to provide assurance in terms of qualification of staff and guard the vetting of staff. So there you have it. There is a lot in that particular report, and it's one that has been getting a lot of attention in the media over the last 24 hours or thereabouts. Will we have some music? I think we should. George Lee and myself have swapped. He is in Spain and I'm in Ireland. And we'll be talking to him shortly. Here's Lorraine Nash and I Don't Care.
I lay down and I feel my heart beat against the ground, and I'll build a bridge and I'll let you walk all over it. I'll hold my tongue and I'll taste your footprints as you run, and I'll swallow my pride to accommodate that look in your eyes. I don't care what you've done, it's on me again. I don't care what you've done, I'll let you be my friend.
That lady's name is Lorraine Nash, and that's a song called I Don't Care. You've heard it before on the programme. But I thought, you know what? They might like to hear it again. So I thought I'd play it for you. It's just the kind of fella that I am. Nice, like that. I just want to see if there's anything here I need to keep an eye on. And there isn't, so that's great. Tell you what we'll do. We'll go for a commercial break, and after that, you'll hear the conversation that George Lee and myself had a little earlier on today, around lunchtime. We managed to have a chat. He's on his holidays in Spain, but he and I were chatting, and he wanted to share some of his experiences, and I thought that'd be fabulous. In fact, I kind of encouraged him, and he said, yeah, that'd be great. So listen, let's do a very quick break, and then myself and George having a chat about what he's been up to in Spain. Nice one.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
We did say last week on the programme that we might, just for pig iron, as we say in Ireland, reverse the roles. George Lee was heading off to Nerja when we spoke to him last week on the programme. I'm glad to say he has arrived safely, and we are going to reverse the roles, because live from his wonderful apartment in downtown Nerja is George Lee on his holidays. First question, George. Well, firstly, you're very welcome, and I hope you're getting on absolutely brilliantly in the heat.
Well, can I just correct you? First of all, it's not really downtown Nerja. No, sure, it's up a very large hill. It's about 900 metres, as I discovered last night.
I know. You had me scope the place out for you, if you recall. First question, does your wife know that you're working while you're on holidays?
She's gone to the beach, Jared. You don't tell her, I won't tell her. We're okay.
You mean you're not going to have TRE blaring all over the house tonight?
Well, you know, it was actually lovely. I sat into the car the other day, and TRE came on the radio, and I said, God, you know, you actually are on FM. He's not lying to me.
Well, there you have it. I thought, and you thought, it would be an interesting experiment, and I didn't realise until we were chatting off air last week that you hadn't actually been to what we call mainland Spain before. So I thought it'd be very interesting to get a first-timer's opinion. And I know that you've got a lot done since you got there. Was it last Thursday? So I thought, let's have a chat and see exactly what you've done. Firstly, your impressions, George. You had, I would imagine, a mental image of the place, and you would have heard me talking about it. You would have heard our good friend PJ Curtis talk about Nerja. Has it lived up to its expectations?
Absolutely, Jaron. And there's been a lot of surprises here as well, I suppose, for me. I really didn't know what to expect when I came out here. You know, we as you will know, I've done the US quite a lot in my holidays and my travels. And, you know, I've done Northern Italy quite a bit. I'm glad I'm not there, to be honest. And we've done Germany. We've done quite a bit of Europe. So look, I suppose I would have experienced a lot of what Europe has to offer. And I have to say, I'm very, very touched by the fact that this is very European and far more European than Ireland. And I suppose that Ireland is probably a standout country in that we don't fit into that European ideal. You know, you can spot an Irishman at 40 paces.
You can,
here,
yeah. One of our own is what we say. Yeah.
Yeah, you might mix him up with an English fella the first time round, but the second time you won't, you know. So yeah, and of course you pick up the accents in a supermarket or wherever you are. Now, that said, I have to say that people here are very well versed in English. You know, they really try. The hospitality is superb on the whole. Customer service is excellent on the whole. And I have to say, Nerja, and it is Nerja.
It is. I only learned that.
Over that, yeah.
I only learned that recently when I was sitting in for Dave one morning, and I was talking about Nerja, and a lady texted me, and she was very nice, and she said, "Look, I'm really sorry about this, but it's a pet bug. It's a bugbear of mine." And she explained how to pronounce Nerja. So there you go. And you've copped it within a week. Fair play to you. It took me 5 years. But I'm a slow learner, always was. I know.
Yeah, well, I was good. I wasn't going to say anything. Sure.
No.
Yeah.
So anyway, listen, surprises. Tell me.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing was, then, you know, all politics is local, isn't that what they say? And you know, we got off the flight in Malaga, and I thought I saw this familiar face picking up the bag at the thing, and didn't pay any attention to it until I was in in the square in Eire just after arriving, and we were just having a look over the balcony to Europe and, looking down. And the next thing, this familiar face came down against me. It was the parish priest of the parish next door.
Here.
At home, who's quite a good friend of mine. And it was kind of case, what the hell are you doing here, So we sat down, we had a beer, and he was doing a wedding. And that, I suppose, kind of outlined to me a little bit that there's quite a lot of Irish people come out here now for weddings and for wedding blessings.
They do.
And the beautiful church, and of course that drew our attention then to the beautiful church in the square in Eire, which is a magnificent church. And that led to a whole lot of other things then, Ger, because we were very fortunate. I mean, I didn't know this at all, but the 16th of July is a very important day in the calendar of Eire and the people of Eire. And it's the feast of the Virgin del Carmen, and I hope I got that right. It's a magnificent festival. We noticed all right on the Saturday night when we went into the church just to have a look around, that there was a local band there and that they had been playing. Oh, yeah. And of course, as you know, my wife is in a brass and reed band, so that immediately, I suppose, twigged things for me and for us. But we walked around, and I did notice, I even took a photograph, and I think I've sent it on to you there, of a most beautiful boat which was done on a mural on the wall, and I wondered about that. And then when I went back and I Googled and had a look, I discovered that this feast of the Virgin del Carmen is a massive feast in the calendar of the people of Eire. And essentially, the Virgin del Carmen is the patroness of the fishing village, which is what Eire was originally. Right. And the statue is taken in procession just one day a year. And it's taken all the way around the village on the backs of people who carry it on almost like a procession at home, a religious procession at home.
Were they hooded, these people?
No, they weren't. No,
okay. They do that at Easter time, and they're hooded and they've got their garments on and so on. But that's fine. Go on.
But the band was playing behind them, which was beautiful, and I have to give a shout out to them. The municipal band of Eire, that absolutely wonderful band. But the tradition was wonderful in that they took it all the way around the village, and then they took it down to the beach, and they put it on the boat, and the boat was brought with a flotilla of other boats to all of the beaches along the Eire coast, where they blessed the ocean and they blessed the boats. Wow. The statue was then brought back on a beautiful catafalque with flowers and everything on it, and they paraded it again through the streets and back to the church. At which point there was a fireworks display, which was as good as any fireworks display, I have to say, that I've seen, in Disney or anywhere else. It really was very, very well done. Brilliant. So look, we really looked out on that one. But I suppose in thinking about it, Ger, the parallel struck me with the little ark in Kilbaha
in West Clare,
in County Clare, in West Clare. And how the devotion of people, I suppose, to the ocean, and the respect that people have for the ocean, and for I thought of the iron sweaters, where people wore the specific types of iron sweaters so that they could be identified if they drowned in the ocean and things like that. So all of these traditions and the linkage between them. I also thought of the little boat, and as you know, I've been involved peripherally in a little boat project in Limerick over the last number of years, and it brought back one of the traditional boats from the Lower Shannon, which was the Gandolo, which of course is a bastardization of the word gondola, in true Limerick fashion, and that's a specific boat that was built specifically for the Lower Shannon, as the Curragh was for the west coast of Ireland. But this boat, and this brings me back to where I started, that was up on the wall of the church, was the boat that they brought the catafalque out on to bless the ocean. Wow. And it's a specific type of fishing boat, which is for the Andalusia, coast. And again, just the parallels were just incredible when we went looking at them.
And George, you said that there's a lot of Irish people that do head out in that direction. Were there Irish people there that you had a discussion like that with, or is this just your own thought?
No, these are my musings, Ger.
All right.
Really, my own musings on it. As you know, I think about a lot of these things, and I suppose history weighs very heavily on all of us. And I was trying to imagine what, and particularly, since 1975, 1976, since the changes came in Spain, and then obviously since the mid '80s when I would have joined the European community, how much Spain has come on, and particularly this part of Spain. And I was trying to figure out what it would have looked like, the 1940s, 1950s. And it would have been very much, I would imagine, just a little small fishing village.
Just as much. George, you did something in the week that you were there that it took me almost 5 years to do, because I saw the signpost for it every time I went to Nerja to visit either PJ or to visit Howard or whatever the case might be. And I'd see the sign for Hiliana. And I never got there until we actually took a few days away back in early March of this year. And we said, right, we definitely have to do for Hiliana. But you got there. What a stunning village.
Oh, sure, I was blown away. The best way I can describe this is a town with no shadows. It was just magnificent, and I didn't have an expectation, which was all the better again. I found the municipal car park. I went into it initially. We're actually going back to the garden restaurant there tonight to have a bit to eat, and we said we'd go and we'd suss out this restaurant. And then we kind of got lost and kept walking. And I was blown away. And again, I've given you some photographs there that I took while I was there. But just, it's like a throwback again to the 1950s almost. There was a little lady there and she didn't have any English. We didn't have any Spanish, or very little. Although my daughter has been very good in restaurants and has proved that her oral Spanish is quite good.
Very good.
But this little lady was walking along, and it was very warm. And she could have been a West Clare lady again. She was dressed from head to foot, and she had and she just nodded in my direction and kind of went, "It's hot."
Yeah.
And then halfway through, we were just getting very tired and needed to buy the bottle of water and the ice cream or whatever. And then we stumbled on the beautiful little church of St. Anthony of Padua. Right. And again, this is beginning to sound like a religious broadcast.
I was just going to say, are you on pilgrimage or holidays?
but again, we went in there and it was magnificent. There's a first-class relic of St. Anthony in there. But again, the parallels with Limerick are just amazing, because, as you know, the Franciscan Church, which is sadly closed in Limerick now, the Franciscan Church would have brought a great devotion to St. Anthony to Limerick. And but my wife asked the question while we were there, how did they manage to do all of this wonderful stuff? And I said, it's all the tenors that people have been given to St. Anthony over the years.
That's right. And for listeners who don't, for listeners who don't know, there's a great devotion to St. Anthony, and he's the person that finds your lost keys or your lost wallet or your lost dog or anything that you lose. You give a few bob to St. Anthony, and hey presto, it reappears. I think he's kidnapping and robbing all those himself.
Apparently, Jerry, you don't even have to be Catholic or Christian.
Really?
He does it for anyone.
For a few bob. All right. Okay. Have power. We'll spread it. Okay.
So anyway, Hiliana was just wonderful, Jerry. And it's one of these places, and I just took a note of this. It's probably the most beautiful town that I've ever been in a short period of time, and that says a whole lot.
But the thing to say to you, George, is that Spain is littered with little towns and villages just like that, no matter where you go. Yeah. It really was special, and I was thinking, how best will I describe this? And I think the best way of describing it is, I'll remember it on a wet winter's November day in the middle of Ireland when the rain is up and horizontal against the window, and I'm not in great form. I'll take out the photograph and look there. Yeah, beautiful. We took some pictures when we were there as well. It was absolutely stunning, and it was lovely to see the pictures that you took and reminded me of that lovely time, which was terrific. So that's
and of course, again the parallels to West Clare again, in that Christy Moore mentions it, of course, in his great song List Tún Barna.
He does,
where he says, "Some head after for Hiliana, but I always go to Lisdoonvarna.
That's right.
In one of the great rhymes.
And would you believe it?
of Shakespearean sonnets.
Would you believe this? This is an admission to how, I suppose, intellectually challenged I can be at times. I really and truly never knew there was a place called Frahiliana until I saw the signpost at the roundabout when my first visit to Eire. I said, there's actually a place called Frahiliana. I thought it was like for rhyming purposes.
For those here in Spain that listen to you, there's also a place called Lisdoonvarna.
There is indeed. I know that much. I've been there many a time. Anyway, go on. What else have you been up to?
Oh yeah. Well, the trip to Granada and down to the Alhambra, that was an experience.
Okay, go on.
First of all, the road. The number of it is the A7.
The A7, yeah. The bane of my life.
Terrifying, Ger. The tunnels, the viaducts, the sweeping bends. I felt I was in a video game.
You know that I don't answer texts or even look at texts when I'm driving. I genuinely don't, and I very seldom answer calls. But you called me one night on my way back from the radio station about 2 years ago, and I was on the A7. I was between Marbella and I don't know where else, maybe Elvira or somewhere. And there had just been an incident on the road where there was lunatics racing on a very busy 3-lane freeway or highway or motorway. And I said to you, if you had rang me, if I had taken my eye off the road 25, 30 seconds earlier, I would have been probably killed stone dead, because I was watching the mirror. So, and I've always said to you that those roads are just unreal at this time of the year, particularly. So you found out.
Oh, it was just terrifying. I mean, I've driven roads all over the world, and again, I couldn't look over the viaduct. I just couldn't take my eye off the road. My wife would say things like, "Look at the beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains." Oh yeah, they're lovely.
Did you get out? Did you get out of third gear?
Behind me. For those people that were stuck behind me doing 90 kilometres on the road the other night, I'm awfully sorry, but I was a fella in the Euro.
Fair enough. So you got to Granada.
We got to Granada, yeah, and I thought it was a little warm. We found a car park because we'd been told that that we didn't know what to expect. We'd been told all sorts of things, that it was going to be very expensive to park around the Alhambra and stuff. But we also wanted to go to the cathedral, so we found a car park and we walked to the cathedral. Now, at this point, I thought it was kind of hot, all right, and the town was absolutely deserted. All the doors of the shops were closed. It was like a Sunday
siesta.
In Kilkee, but it wasn't even siesta. It was kind of mid-morning at this point.
Right.
But it was so hot and warm. So we got down to the little square on front of the cathedral, and again, the name escapes me. But there's a sign there that gives you the temperature,
mm-hmm.
and it said 47 degrees on the sign, and I really believed it. I mean, I think I described it to you as feeling like a chicken in an air fryer. It really was that warm there. Now that sign might have been slightly overestimated.
Might have been,
but
yes.
I wouldn't say by much.
Yeah.
So then we went in and we saw the cathedral in all its grandeur, and a beautiful, beautiful place it is. And then we went to try to grab just a sandwich. I met a lovely guy there in the restaurant that we went into, the Authentic Carmela, just for a name check on him because he was so good. And he said, we said we need to walk back to the car to get the car to bring it up to the Alhambra. He said, "What are you doing that for?" He said they'll charge you a lot above to park the car in the Alhambra. He said if you get the local bus up, it's $150, and there's regular bus services up and down. So we did that, and it was just magnificent. And it was lovely to get on the bus and to experience that part of it as well. And to be honest, I don't know how I could have driven up there, those roads again, up these hills, up to the Alhambra.
Yeah.
So the Alhambra, to be honest, the Alhambra is a small little bit of a fog to me because it was just so warm. It was so hot. And you were trying to keep hydrated. You were trying to do all of those things. So it was. It was a wonderful experience and wonderful to see it. And I'd go back over the photographs, and I took pictures of some of the boards up there as well, which I can go back on in my own time. So that was our trip to the Alhambra. We came back and we drove back up then. And again, before we drove up, by the way, we went into the magnificent new shopping centre down in Granada, which is just... It's vast, absolutely vast. I would say maybe 4 soccer pitches over to, on 2 floor levels. It's just an amazing place. I've been in shopping centres right the way across America and everywhere else. This justifies anything that I've seen before.
So I take it that was another opportunity for you to relax while your wife and daughter went shopping.
Yes.
There you go. I figured as much. Sitting in the car with the aircon on.
As much as you can relax, your Visa card has been used.
Well, there you go.
So we came back up there. Another day then, Ger, just I suppose to fill you in on what else we've been doing. Another day we went out to the Cueva at Dinerha.
Oh yes,
out to the caves. And look, I've been in caves, in Crag Caves, and I've been in Eire, of course, in up near
Ballyvaughan,
Ballyvaughan, these are similar, but a bigger system, a bigger cave system altogether. Again, I suppose, look, putting on my business hat, I've been kind of looking at the way that these things are promoted and they're put together, and they have a nice product up there. They really do, and it's a product that's developing, and you can see that in what they're doing. I would say certainly one of the things that you must do if you go up there is to do the virtual reality. They do they have a lovely little room in there, and you can go in, you put on this virtual reality headset and earphones, and they're you get to experience. You go back 400 million years, and the lava's bubbling up around you, and it's wonderful. It's very, very well done. The caves are the caves, and again, it's a nice relief to the warmth outside to go into these caves and enjoy it.
And of course, the beauty of the caves, George, is that when you go in the summertime, it's so cool compared to outside. But yet, when you go in the winter time, it's warmer than it is outside because it's a constant temperature.
It's exactly, yeah. And you go back and you think what these ancient people must have felt, and it gave them a sense of security, gave them a place where they could live, and and without worrying about being killed or eaten or whatever.
But there was no Wi-Fi in there.
No, there wasn't. That was just a bit of a downer, yeah. And they couldn't pick up the radio signal from TRE.
A little bit before our time, George.
Look, it was absolutely wonderful. Tomorrow for my fun is Malaga. So we're heading up to Malaga tomorrow to meet some friends. And I have to say, look, it's been a nice, relaxing time, Ger. It really has. It's just been... We try to squeeze as much in as we can. I don't do beaches because I don't do sand and I don't do kind of heat and lotion, things like that. But I'm midway through my second book as well, which is always a good sign.
George, when we Irish go travelling, it doesn't matter where we go. We compare the prices at home with, the box of cornflakes that you'd buy in the local supermarket, or the pint of milk, or, the price of a pint, or whatever the case might be. How are you finding that?
Yeah, well, interestingly, I'm quite close to both the Carrefour and Mercadona, right across from us. And again, just looking at it, I would say prices are similar, maybe slightly less than what they would be at home. And now, obviously, things like alcohol prices and stuff are that much cheaper than they would be at home as well, and that's probably down to taxes and that. But just in terms of the price of your pint of milk or your packet of ham, it would be similar, similar enough to what we'd be paying at home.
But eating out, I think you'd see a difference, would you?
Yeah, and again, it depends what you want. We went to a lovely restaurant down right on the seafront here in Boriana last night called Raw, and we went in there and I had a burger, my daughter had a burger, my wife had a fish, and I had a beer, there was 2 glasses of wine, a couple of soft drinks. we were out for 50 quid, I mean, and it was good quality. Compare that. There's another restaurant we went to the other night, which would be slightly more upmarket, and that was over 100 quid. No, we probably had desserts in that as well. But look, again, it depends what you're looking for, Ger. You'll find the value if you're looking for the value. And it's the driving as well, and I know you alluded to it going down, but particularly here in Eire, it's all roundabouts and long straights, and what is it with this 2 exits off every roundabout going the same direction?
Well, that's all for traffic flow and for ease of pulling in to stop for a second to pop in somewhere and all that. So yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, doesn't it?
It does, and the mopeds on every side. Yes.
And have you travelled down any of the really narrow streets in the car?
Yes, right in the center. Well, we drive down to the Balcon car park instance, which is where I've been parking, and the one-way system justifies belief here. It's incredible. But I kind of was prepared for it, because when I rented the car, the girl in the car park said, the car hire said to me, "Look, don't worry about it. There's a little bit of a dent on the door at the back of the car." Back of my own mind, I said, "Yeah, some poor sod has already hit." But the car parking spaces as well, Ger, are so narrow, trying to reverse it. In the car parks, So anyway, look, that's just...
So all in all, an Irishman abroad, I suppose, enjoying it. And will you go back to Spain?
I would come back, I would. No, I would be very conscious that I'm probably here at one of the hottest times of the year, and I'm also here at an extraordinarily hot time.
And you wonder why I'm here?
It is, but it's been a very good experience. I have to say, all of the restaurants we've been to, the hospitality has been good. And we fly back on Saturday, and I'm hoping to be in Dublin on Sunday for
the All-Ireland.
The All-Ireland final,
Lovely.
So we're hoping for that.
Before I let you go, and I do appreciate you taking time out of your holiday to give us an experience, because it's always nice to hear from somebody about what they experience when they come, particularly for the first time. George, you're into politics, pretty much the same as I would be into politics. You know that there is a general election coming on Sunday in Spain. Or do you? Is there talk about it? Are you exposed to any of it? The canvassing has only started recently. So where's that at?
Well, Willie O'D hasn't knocked on my door here.
Willie O'D being a Limerick-based member of the Dáil, Fianna Fáil member. Willie hasn't been around, okay.
Willie hasn't been around, but look, on every roundabout, there's particularly the PPP seem to be very strong around here, and Vox. I've seen signs for Vox. I wasn't aware that there was an election coming up until I saw these signs, and of course my curiosity got the better of me, and then I went and looked at it, and I don't even know the lie of the land in terms of this part of Spain and what it would be. I've been far more interested in kind of looking up, Ger, the history of this part of Spain, and as you know, the Spanish Civil War would have been one of my big areas of interest over the years as well, and just trying to trace that as well. I'm very struck because First World War is another big area of interest, and as you know, I've done the tour of the front lines on that in Belgium and France. I'm struck by the lack of monuments here, which is something that I made a mental note on. In every little town that you go into in France, there seems to be a memorial of some kind or other. Yeah. There doesn't seem, now maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I've just not seen them, but there just doesn't. Perhaps it's just too fresh. And maybe that's it as well. But I do know that there was quite a lot of pain in this particular part of Spain as well over those years.
I have no doubt now that you have been there and you've seen it and you have wondered about it and wandered around it, that I'll be getting reports from you for the next 6 months. I wrote this little piece about Nerha. Look what I found about Nerha. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, the parallels with Kilbaha are the ones that really hit me.
All right.
There's probably a piece coming on that. that.
I look forward to it. George Lee, go and enjoy the remainder of your holidays and finish that book before your wife and your family get back from the beach. And I won't say a word to them about you working. How's that?
God bless you. Thanks a million.
Will we play Christy?
Something after Friday, yeah.
Thanks, Georgie.
Oh, listen, Varna. Listen, Varna.
How's it going there? Everybody from Cork, New York, Dundalk, Gurtahawk and Glenamaddy. Here we are in the County Clare, and it's a long, long way from here to there. There's the Burren, and the Cliffs of Moher, and the Tulla, and the Kilfenore, and Michael Russell, Dr. Bill, Willie Clancy and Noel Hill. Flutes and fiddles everywhere. If it's music you want, you should go to Clare.
Oh, listen, Varna. Listen, Varna.
Sure, everybody needs a break. Climb a mountain or jump in a lake. Some head off to exotic places. Others go to the Galway races. A cousin of mine goes potholing. A cousin of hers loves Joe Dolan. Matty goes to the south of France, and Jim to the dogs and Peter to the dance. Summer comes around each year. We go there and they come here. Some jet off to Frihiliana, but I always go to Lisdoonvarna.
Oh, Lisdoonvarna. Lisdoonvarna.
I always leave of a Thursday night with me tent and me ground sheet rolled up tight. I like to hit Lisdoon in or around Friday afternoon. This gives me time to get me gear together. I don't need to worry about the weather. Ramble in for a pint of stout, cause you never know who'd be hanging about. There's a Dutchman playing a mandolin, and a German looking for Liam O'Gauffin, and there's Adam Bono and Gareth Fitzgerald getting their photo taken for the Sunday World. Finbar, Charlie and Jim Hand, and they're drinking pints to bait the band, and they're grand.
Oh, Lisdoonvarna. Lisdoonvarna.
The multitudes, they flocked in throngs to hear the music and the songs, and motorbikes and high-ace vans with bottles, barrels, flagons, cans. Mighty crack. Loads of frolics, pioneers and alcoholics, and Clack Spook in the FCA, and Phil Mickey Kelly in the IRA, and hairy chests and milk white ties, and Mickey Dodgers in disguise. McGrath's, O'Brien's, Pippin's, Cox's, massage parlours and horse boxes. RTE are making tapes, taking breaks and throwing shapes. There's Aurons, Bowrons, Amadons, Arab sheiks, Hindu Sikhs, Jesus freaks. This is heaven, this is hell. Who cares? Who can tell? Anyone for the last few chalk ices now.
Oh, Lisdoonvarna. Lisdoonvarna.
A 747 for Jackson Brown. They had to build a special room just to get him down before the chieftains could start to play. 7 creamy pints came out in a tray. Shergar was ridden by Lord Lucan. Sean Cannon did the backstage cooking. Clannad were playing Harry's game, and Christy was singing Nancy Spain. And Mary O'Hara and Brush Shields together doing the 4 Green Fields. Van the Man and Emmy Lou and Moving Hearts and Planksty too.
Oh, Lisdoonvarna. Lisdoonvarna.
Everybody needs a break. Climb a mountain or jump in a lake. Sean Doherty goes to the Roses Tralee, and Oliver J. Flanagan goes swimming in the Holy See. But I like my music in the open air, so every summer I go to Clare, cause Woodstock, Knockn or the Feast of Cana could hold a match to Lisdoonvarna.
Oh, Lisdoonvarna. Lisdoonvarna. Oh, Lisdoonvarna. Lisdoonvarna.
Nice, isn't it? That's Christy Moore and Lisdoonvarna. Aye, well known for many, 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 many years. And thank you to George Lee for taking time out from his holidays to tell us about what he's been up to. Nice to get the perspective, particularly on his first visit to what we called mainland Spain. He'd been to the Balearics all right over the years, but not to mainland Spain. I reckon he'll be back, and I reckon he'll go farther afield indeed. Right. Thanks, George, for that. He's probably in Frahiliana at the moment, because he did mention that they were heading off there tonight. What have I got for you? The hours, yes, there was ructions last year about this when the Puck Fair was coming up. The hours spent by the wild mountain goat on a high stand overlooking Kilorglin at the annual Puck Fair will be severely curtailed next month. Concerns about the welfare of the goat in a metal cage during a heatwave last year dominated the headlines, and the animal was removed on a number of occasions amid fears that he would overheat. However, the changes to the ancient tradition are coming under fire locally, and feelings are running very high, according to a local representative who has warned that a way of life is under threat from animal rights and other pressure. For hundreds of years, the wild mountain puck, or the male goat, has spent 3 days and 3 nights on a 50-foot stand in Kilorglin in County Kerry. But this year, King Puck's enthronement will involve a token visit to his stand after his coronation on the 10th of August. He will be raised again on scattering or closing day, which is the 12th of August. Now, the Fair Committee said that the Puck was evolving and taking account of changing concerns. In line with previous years, the goat will continue to be overseen and checked by a vet throughout the 3 days. However, the radical change to the 400-year-old festival is causing concern locally and is being attributed to unbelievable pressure by animal rights groups and the media. Such pressure is a threat to ancient traditions, Fianna Fáil councillor Michael Cahill said. He went on to say that the Puck Fair Committee have been put in an impossible position between the media pressure from so-called animal rights protesters and the commercial pressure from corporate sponsors who fear controversy. Feelings were running very high around the Kilorglin or mid and South Kerry region because of this decision, he said. The customs and traditions of our country are an onerous responsibility. They are an onerous responsibility on all of us, and we must strive to continue them and not turn into a society with no identity. The committee has come under unbelievable pressure from people complaining about how the Puck goat is treated and from sponsors who fear controversy, Mr. Cahill said. The goat was always treated well, he added. No. So we might try and do something on the Puck Fair. 10th of August they start, so a couple of weeks away. The National Bus and Rail Union has called for the use of a statutory instrument to exempt bus garages from planning regulations. The call comes as Dublin Bus has not been able to deploy a fleet of electric buses because it ran into difficulties over the installation of chargers in 2 depots. There's something like 100 buses, I think, sitting, waiting to be deployed. Assistant General Secretary of the union, Tom O'Connor, said that there should be an investigation. He was speaking on RTE's This Week programme during the weekend when he said that I would have thought that the Minister has the power to bring out a statutory instrument to exempt bus garages from planning regulations, and I wouldn't stop there. He said, I mean, the Navan Rail Line or the Western Rail Corridor or any transport project should be exempt from the planning regime. He said it's part of the tranche of 600 electric buses to replace the diesel buses over the next number of years, and that the union was made aware of the issues over the planning during the week. Mr. O'Connor said that it could take months to rectify the issue. He said the planner put in recommendations about the render and the roof type and about protecting the heritage of a structure of a wall up in Phibsborough. Not to be critical of the people or denigrate the people who protect our heritage, he said, but we're in a climate emergency and I think common sense needs to be employed. Dublin Bus told the same programme that it was working with the planning authority to secure approval for its revised charging infrastructure. There are 9 electric buses in the depots which are being used for training and to test the range to see how many times they're going to have to swap these vehicles over. He said drivers will need to learn how to drive them because they're different in a number of ways. Mr. O'Connor said, for example, there's no wing mirrors on them, which I didn't know. Aye, absolutely. So they have monitors apparently inside in the cab, and that's how they monitor what's going on. That's going to take a bit of getting used to, he said. Braking is different, which it is, and the layout needs to become more familiar to the drivers as well. So there you have it. There's a lot going on there, isn't there? As I said, there's about 100 of those 600 buses lying already idle in the bus parks. So yeah, about time somebody kind of said that we need to employ common sense when, planning people get involved. And sometimes it's actually the opinion and the likes and dislikes of an individual planner that can determine quite a lot of what happens, which isn't really right. Anyway, you will recall the discussions that George and I had over the last number of weeks in relation to the RTE scenario and the fact that 190 million of the 350 million budget that RTE has annually comes from the television licence. And what might or might not happen? Well, there was a notable drop in the number of TV licences issued in the first week in July compared to the same time last year, with 11,241 licences issued compared to 15,432 the previous year. The fall in TV licence numbers comes as RTE has been embroiled in controversy over the publication of inaccurate figures for presenter Ryan Tubridy's earnings. The licence figures were released by Minister for Media Catherine Martin in a reply to a parliamentary question from Fine Gael TD Brendan Griffin. Now, the RTE Director General Kevin Backhurst said that he was very grateful to those who have continued to buy a TV licence during a period when events have cast such a dark shadow over RTE. He added that they have every right to feel let down. A total of 5,837 fewer TV licences were issued during June and the first week in July than there was in the same period last year. Now, this equates to revenue loss of €933,920. And there have been calls on the government to put a contingency plan in place to address this loss. The decline in licences is most pronounced in the opening week of this month, when 4,191 fewer licences were issued in comparison to this time last year. The drop-off is 27%. That can't continue. Mr. Griffin, who sits on the Oireachtas Committee on Media, believes a significant proportion of the population has lost confidence in RTE. Mr. Backhurst said the new leadership team was working hard to rebuild trust in the organisation and will continue to do so. He also thanked hard-working staff, whom he said, despite audiences across television, radio and online, despite everything, remain focused on producing great programming and content for audiences across television, radio and online. Ms. Martin, the Minister, said that her officials would continue to monitor the number of licences issued and the impact on TV licence fee receipts. The total number of licences issued in June of this year was 73,421, while this figure was 75,067 last year. In the first week in July, there were, so we saw that. Alrighty, that's it. A quick look at what's happening in relation to the TV licences. As, you know, I listen to people and they don't get it. They just don't. A lot of people don't. And they don't equate the fact that we need, as a country, we need to have a public service broadcaster, and we need to fund that. And we may not like, you know, some of the stuff that they do, but they do provide a magnificent service, and they do provide an essential service. And somebody equated to it being democracy in action, you know, a free public service broadcaster. Free as in untethered, that's what I mean. This is a beautiful song. It's brand new from Crea, beg your pardon.
Pluck me from this barren rock, oh. Pluck me from this barren rock, oh. Hold me in your talons, hold me in your talons. And when you see fit, let me drop. Oh, when you see fit, let me drop to float among the columns. Oh, I sink into the columns. This loneliness won't let me be woke up, be free. Instead, it's dragging me behind it, and I don't have the strength to fight it. And all the things that make me smile seem so futile. My head is begging me to fix this, but I feel numb and listless, hoping it won't stay too long. Lead me to a shelter cry, no. Lead me to a shelter cry, no. Return me to the shining, return me to the shining. When I grow worthy to be whole, when I grow worthy to be whole, I'll soar to you like a swallow. Oh, I'll sing to you like a swallow. Stay too long. Oh, the swallow will return at peace with it all. Released from all. Peace with it all. Released from all. Peace with it
That's Kriya. Her real name is Karen Cowley. That's a song called The Callows. It's a title track from her new EP. The Callows are the flat grasslands along the River Shannon, and the word comes from the Irish Calla, C-A-L-A-D-H. Thank you to George for joining me. Sorry, that's the Irish word for meadow. Thanks to George for joining me this evening from Nerja. A little earlier on. Thank you as always to our Spanish-Irish cultural advisor on the programme, Antonio Sierra. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed putting it together and presenting it to you. I'm back on Friday from 2 o'clock to 4 in the afternoon. If you can join me, that'd be great. If not, maybe next Wednesday for Live on Eire. From me, Ger Sweeney. Until then, bye-bye now.
Ger Sweeney presents Live on Eire in association with emeraldconnection.net.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.